All right, so let's get to our distinguished speakers. We'll start with the oldest. This is Agostino Arioli from Birrificio Italiano. We only have one mic at the moment, so we kind of have to hand it back and forth. Agostino, I would like you to introduce yourselves to our audience and say a few words about you in the Italian beer scene.
Hi, everybody. I'm the founder and the brewer of Birrificio Italiano. Birrificio Italiano was one of the first craft breweries born in Italy in 1996. So we are still brewing beer. Let's say that it's a successful and very nice job, and I'm very pleased to be here, invited from Dirk and in Berlin, because of course as an Italian I grew up with German beers, so German beer culture is still a kind of myth for me. So I'm happy to be here.
Something that a lot of people may not know, Italy is the #1 importer of German beer. So even the Chinese market, the American market, all of those don't import as much as Italy. The Italians drink the most German beer. Maybe it's time we return the favor.
It would be great. I don't know if it's time right now because of some issues and problems, but it would be great. But we have been importing some beer to Germany, and this makes me really proud.
All right, our second speaker is Alfonso Strianese from Bira Bar. And say a few words about yourself.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Strianese, and I want to thank you to Dirk for the invitation, and I'm really proud to be here together with one of the best brewer in Italy. And just a little presentation. I'm one of the owner of an Italian craft beer bar here in Berlin, and we are trying to export the Italian beer culture here in Germany. But as Agostino, I love also German beers. Where the German beers were the first beers I tried in my life, and in my bar I'm trying to mix the Italian craft beer with the German craft beer. What is Dirk?
Just making sure that we're getting beer. There's beer #1, and it's a beer by Birrificio Italiano. So, Agostino, why don't you tell the people what they're getting?
Well, this beer introduced. There's a noise, or yeah. So maybe. Okay, there's a noise. There was a noise. So, but this beer is very interesting for me to introduce because this beer, I'm brewing it since 1996. There's a problem.
Technical problems.
All good. And I've been brewing this beer since 1996, introducing something new in the style. The style I was referring to is the pils, okay? This is a kind of a pils. A kind of a pils, translated in Italian, is tipo pils. And this is the name of the beer, tipo pils, all together, okay? What did I do in 1996? I did dry hopped a pils. At that time, I think it wasn't even allowed in the Strianese boat, so no German pils were dry hop. Thank you so much. And so I did start with this process that it was quite popular in England for some real ales in the cask dry hopping, and I decided to apply this technique to my pills. So, and this is why some people call it, let's say, the mother of the Italian style pills that are all, more or less, all dry hopped. And not only in Italy, because nowadays we can find dry hop pills all over the world, especially in the US, for example, even in Germany, I think. So this is why Tipo Pills was and still is something a bit different. But that's another reason. I was asking around here at the people, with my colleagues and brewers, if they have some beer, heavily hop beer, only with traditional German hops. When I say traditional German hops, I mean hops that are at least 100 years old. And I couldn't find any, because I think now the traditional German hops are a little bit forgotten here in this new craft beer culture in Germany. So if you want to find a 100% German hoppy beer, this is the one you're looking for, and it's brewed in Italy. This is quite funny, but it's...
All right, so I hope you're enjoying the beer. I just had a smell because I have to drive, but I think it has a very, very, very fresh hop flavor, and it is promising everything that I would expect from a Pilsener. So, what we want to do now is I'm going to ask a rather pointed question, sometimes slightly ignorant or provocative, to these two gentlemen, and let them take a stance on it. So, question number one. Italy basically doesn't have any beer culture in history, does it?
No. Maybe not 30 years ago, but I think that now is with Agostino and other pioneers. Yeah, I think now we have a great beer culture at the moment. A lot of microbreweries, and we are also producing all the style known all over Europe. I think not because Agostino is here, but I think that at the moment, Pilsner, good like Tipo Pils, it's impossible to find around the world.
But roll the time frame back 30 years or more. Historically, do you think that Italy has a beer culture in history?
No, I don't think so, but Agostino can answer better than me.
No, not at all, and that's why we are lucky boys, because we didn't have any culture, no rules, nothing. So we had the chance 22 years ago when I started, almost 23. I mean, when I started to brew professionally in my brewery, because from 85 I was home brewing. So at that time we had no culture, no rules. That's why we were free to create anything we wanted to try, you know what I mean? So a lot of creativity, and I always say I'm happy to be ignorant because it makes me free. When I have too many things that I have to respect, too many rules in brewing, I'm not free. Not 100% like I like. So this is absolutely true what you're saying. 30 years back in Italy, we only had 30 years ago, we already, the historical Italian lager brands were belonging to big companies. But if you go back 50 years, we had a lot of small breweries, but they were only brewing regular lagers, and most of them were German Austrian families that came from the north and based their brewery in Italy. So our culture was zero. It was the same of you, but not a special one. But now it's changed a lot, and we are. I think that we have something special is that we can really brew whatever we like, not sticking to the styles. I personally don't like styles. I've studied styles. I'm a judge at the World Beer Cup. I'm a judge at the European Beer Star, so I know what styles are. But when I'm brewing and when I'm drinking, I don't care about styles. I think this is the strength of the Italian craft beer industry.
So what about the world famous lukewarm Servicia? Would you consider that beer history?
What?
The Servicia that the Roman legionaries drank.
I don't know this story, sorry.
Oh, it's an Asterix comic story. Okay, so that leads right into my next question, also pointed and completely contrary to what I just said, so nowadays, Italy is the most progressive beer culture in the entirety of Europe. True or false?
Yeah, I think it's true. Yeah. Yeah, no. I think it's true because I think probably the craft beer revolution in Europe. Yes, starting. Yeah, the first breweries were in Italy. Yeah. Yeah, and then I think before England, we started before England with yeah.
Why do you think they picked Italy? Why do you think that Italy was such a breeding ground for creative breweries?
What? Sorry.
Why do you think that Italy was such a breeding ground for creative breweries?
Perché era un terreno fertile
Okay.
per le
Yeah, because was I don't know it's the word fertile, but yeah, fertile, because we had no culture in brewing beer, so we didn't need to respect rules about ingredients and the way of brewing.
I think it's somehow it's true, and if you go, of course there are wonderful beers all around, but we are not brewing traditional beers. We're brewing craft beers, and in the craft beer, where craft means innovation, we are on top of the ranking for sure. What is interesting is that we Italians, we have a food, taste, smell culture that it's really big. I mean, we always like to try the sauce or the spaghetti or the special dish or the wine made for the grandmother, from the grandfather, and we have a really big culture of craft production, especially in food and beverage. So we know, let me say, probably better than other cultures, we know how to combine taste and flavors, in a beer. So that's why we are doing a good job, despite the lack 10 years ago. Now it has changed, but until 5-10 years ago, we didn't have a very big technical background, but we had the knowledge to combine things, to combine tastes in our beers. That's why we have been successful, but we are successful only in the abroad. I mean, only in the very small world of craft beer enthusiasts, because in the big markets we do not exist. Not in Germany, not in the UK, in the US. Somehow they appreciate Italian craft beer more than any other probably, but it's very difficult for us for other reasons, economical reasons.
All right, I think it's almost time for our second beer. So that will be an IPA, I assume. So maybe you tell us what the beer is about, because you're most closely connected to it, and I will see how it's doing, the IPA style.
Yeah, the second beer we are going to taste is the Gaina from Birrificio Lambrate. And and from a couple of years they changed a little bit the recipe. I think now at the moment is more modern than some years ago, because at the beginning was produced with American hops, but closer to an English IPA for the maltiness possibile, no? For the maltiness. Now, this new recipe, I think they started to brew with the new recipe a couple of years ago, is a little, they preserve the maltiness, but using different and more American hops for bitterness and for aroma. I think they are using now 4 American hops: Simcoe, Zeus, Centennial, and Cascade.
So for anyone who's late, we are trying Italian craft beers. We're on number 2. If you would like to try the first one and you're a bit late to the talk, we do have some in reserve, so just let the nice lady who's walking around with the cups know, and you can try the first one, the Tipo Pils, as well. And we have a real special beer for the end that will, I think, make a few taste buds protest, but that's all the better. So, next question. We've already tapped into this again slightly with your comments, but you work in the food and gastronomy business. Do you think that this extraordinary dedication of the Italians to food culture has helped craft beer or birra artigianale to grow in Italy? So, as they say, the German lives to work and the Italian works to live, right?
Yeah, I think so, because before the Italian craft beer revolution, in a lot of pubs, you found we call it pub food. So, and where frozen chips and other frozen fried food, and food not so just to, come si dice, accompagnare, yeah, just to let you drink another beer. But with the craft beer revolution, we started to make better food, because we have special beers, good beers, and we cannot match this beer with frozen food and average food. Now it's common to find in Italy, yeah, but Agostino can tell you because they have a great pub close to their brewery, and there is a research about ingredients and to keep.
What do you serve? What do you serve in Beer and Food and Bira Bar Berlin?
In Bira Bar we have just cold cuts, Käseteller, Würstteller, because we don't have a real kitchen, but we try to give to our customers good cheese and good cold cuts, not the classic salami or ham from the big companies. And at Beer and Food, yeah, we have simple pizza, but we started to with not with the flour or with the bad mozzarella. We started with the it's flour. We call type 1. It's not. It's meshed with the stones, not with the machines. With mozzarella from Tramonti or from Agerola. So the ingredients are on a top level, and also fried food, but handmade fried food, not the frozen one, and so on, burgers and other stuff.
So what would you guys serve with the beers that we've tried so far? The Tipo Pils maybe first, and then...
Well, first of all, let me say, I'm a little bit a punk somehow, that I'm not a fan of pairing food and beer. I used to say that when I'm drinking, and I want to appreciate a beer, I eat an average food. And when I want to enjoy the food, I'm drinking an average beer. So not necessarily the craft beer culture goes along with the pairing culture, but it's very interesting, by the way. As he said, we have a restaurant, so we pair food. We do a lot of tasting nights, pairing food and beer. But this is not the only future of the craft beer. No, it's not. Tipo Pils is good for any deep fried food, from fish, vegetables, any kind of deep fried stuff is good with Tipo Pils because the hoppiness, it helps you to clean out the mouth from the oily and the feelings of the fried food. And then Tipo Pils, it's good with some cheeses, Italian cheese, not too much aged cheese, because otherwise it fade away. It's overwhelmed by the cheese. But with some cheeses, it's wonderful. I can recommend a pairing, but it's quite difficult to put this together because it's impossible to find Tipo Pils in Germany. But maybe you can find the cheese I'm going to talk about. It's Piacentino di Enna. It's a Sicilian cheese made with saffron and pepper, sheep milk, and it's wonderfully paired with the Tipo Pils. So this is my best suggestion about Tipo Pils pairing. Difficult to realize, but interesting.
Yep. For me, with fried anchovies is one of the best match. With Tipo Pils, fried anchovies. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Gaina. Yeah, will be okay with a good barbecue. Pulled pork or ribs. Yes. But also with pizza with fried food.
Even with some curry, maybe with the famous currywurst from Berlin. Could be.
Yeah, probably yes. Because it's not the it's a modern IPA, but not so modern. Gaina has an important maltiness, so you can also go with spiced food.
So we have a slight roastiness in the Berliner Currywurst, our local dish, which goes well with the malty backbone of the Gaina, and a spiciness from the curry.
Sorry. The right pronunciation is Gaina. Gaina means, in the Milano slang, Gaina means to be drunk. We say, te sei in Gaina, it means you're drunk. And Gaina means hen or chicken in Italian, in the Milan dialect, okay? And chicken is drunk, to be drunk.
All right, so the spiciness of the Gaina goes well with the spiciness of the currywurst. Okay, I think that should take us right into the last beer. This is again from Birrificio Italiano. So let us know what it is. I think this one is rather special and will probably challenge a few palates out there.
Yeah, it will, for sure. It's, the beer is coming now on stage. It's a barrel-aged sour beer. It's brewed with a new brand. It's not Birrificio Italiano brand, it's Clan Barrique. Clan Barrique project was born 4 years ago. 3 years ago we start filling the barrels. And now, since November last year, we are selling the beer on the market. And this is one that has been very successful. And that's why I wanted to bring it to Berlin. This beer is a blend of a dark imperial porter that we aged in a used Porto barrel. So this is a very important point, because some friends and wonderful brewers from Italy, the Brewfist guys, they did brew a barrel aged in Porto barrels, non-sour strong beer. But when they were dismissing these barrels, I said, don't throw them away. I will use them. So I did put in this barrel some Imperial Porter that, of course, went sour, because you expect this when you're getting a used barrel from the beer industry and you don't want to sanitize it. So it went sour. And after 1 year or more, maybe 1.5 or so, we did a blending with the sour cherry beer. Okay? So this is the result of a blending made in our barrel room that's up in the north of Italy, close to Trento, in Trentino. Rovereto is the place. So we have, at the moment, we have two brands, Birrificio Italiano and Clan Barrique. This is from Clan Barrique.
Thank you. And my second to final question, I would say. I have the impression that the craft beer scene in Italy is mostly focused on the northern part of Italy. Is that just because it's closer to Germany, so we get more of those beers? Or is that actually a true thing?
Yeah, I'm from the south of Italy, but I can say that it's more focused in north part of Italy. I don't know why, probably because we have a lot of breweries at the moment in the north part of Italy, especially in Lombardia, where Agostino is, and Piedmont, and I'm a publican. I work. I buy beers and I sell to customers. But and the first thing I check is the quality. But as a publican, I have also to check at the price. And I think in the north of Italy, I will find quality and price, and also the continuity, because especially for the Clambaric is a new project, especially for birrificio italiano, tipo Pils, Bibok, Bivaizen, Amber Shock, Voodoo. I found every time quality, price, and also the continuity. I had never had problems with these beers, never. So it's the reason why I think that in the best breweries are in the north part of Italy. We have some good breweries also in the center of Italy and in the south, but the high percentage is in the north.
Do you have 3 good breweries from the south that you could name?
Yeah, the first one for me is Birrificio dell'Aspide because it's close to my town, to my hometown. Dell'Aspide, yeah. I had one time one beer at Birra, but it's difficult to import small breweries, really small breweries. Probably, yeah, B94, B94 from Lecce. And now, yeah, there is one brewery from Sicily, Iblon, that are working very well. But there are other few breweries, but I think these 3 for me are good.
Okay. And now maybe the opposite for Agostino. 3 breweries from the north, apart from your own, obviously. And maybe also your opinion on the north-south divide.
This very difficult answer. No, let's talk about why there's such has been. Now has been a very big gap between the north and the south. But this, and it's very sad for me to say this, it's due to the different pace that the south and the north of Italy still have. And I'm very worried because I see that in the last years it's getting even worse than it used to be. And this is something I really don't like. But I think this is part of the reason why it started more in the north. In the north, there's more, let's say, European modern culture and more money. Yeah? Not that much, by the way. I'm talking about myself, of course. So this is something. The reason why it all started in Lombardy and Piedmont, basically. But nowadays, I agree that there are some very good breweries in the south. So hopefully they will grow and do better and better. 3 breweries in the north. Wow. Hammer. Lambrate, of course. I have to say Lambrate.
Lambrate is out, okay.
It's out, of course. That's why, yeah. Hammer, he's a very smart brewer, really. And he's especially brewing a lot of American-style beers, and very good ones, very good. Top quality, no chance. On earth, definitely. And then I would say Rurale, birrificio Rurale. You know birrificio Rurale? Bravi ragazzi. So you also know birrificio Italiano? Of course, that's good. But you don't know me. I'm kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, Birrificio Rurale is brewing a wide range of beers, including some sour beers. Very well done. It's a more wide range compared with Hammer, maybe, but it's and that's a plus in my opinion. So I recommend Rurale too. And then the third one, wow, it's quite difficult. Manerba, I would say Manerba. Manerba Brewery. It's based on the Garda Lake. I'm telling this also because I know a lot of Germans goes to Garda Lake. And that's a very, very good brewery. And a very good brewer. He studied in Berlin at the local brewing school. The brewer, yeah. So that's a very good brewery. May I have the chance to spend a few words about what craft beer is in Italy? I think it's very important to explain what happens in Italy is that we are probably the only country on earth to have a state law, that defines what craft beer is, okay? Because all around the world, in USA, in Germany, in any other country, craft beers means everything and nothing. Commercially speaking, everybody can use the word craft. No problem. In Italy, craft is artigianale, and there's no way. You have to respect and to be within the law definition if you want to write on your label birra artigianale italiana. And this is very important because I was talking with some colleagues and very interesting ideas from them. I think in Italy we have a very ancient old culture about homemade and industrial. So for us it's very important to keep these two things different. We have quite a lot of brands, come si può dire, disciplinari, marchi, gelato artigianale, for example, craft ice cream. They really define what the real one is. So in Italy, the craft beer is brewed with in a brewery that is brewing less than 200,000 hectoliters per year. That it's a lot because the bigger craft Italian brewery is now brewing probably 50,000, probably. We don't have to pasteurize and not even microfilter the beer, and we have to be independent. So we don't have to have any share belonging to beer industry. Okay, to somebody who's brewing, that's another Italian brewing colleague, a brewer, yeah. Railroad Brewing from Seregno, close to Milano. And so this is very important, I think. It tells you a lot about our, let's say, craft and artisanal culture, and it explains why now we are trying to split totally what the craft beer is and the beer. So I know I'm again provoking a little bit, but in an Italian beer trade show, you never want to see industrial brands together with real craft beer brewers. We are really trying to explain to the people that there are two products, the beer and the craft beer, and both are good. If I go, no, I really recommend to my customers when they want to buy my beers for the taps, I recommend, why don't you keep a beer? Maybe it's cheaper, it's good. I mean, not everybody must be engaged only with craft beer. So I really think that the market is done 90%, 95% from beers. But craft beers has to be defined, has to be described as different from the beer. So that's what we are trying to do in Italy. It's not a fight, it's not a war, not at all. I grew up in the beer industry, in Italian beer industry, so, and I have plenty of friends, and I respect the beer. But craft beer must be different. So we try to keep it apart from the other one, okay? Just because we need to, we need this in terms of marketing, because otherwise the industrial breweries, they are brewing craft beers that are really good, but with the prices half of ours. So it's a problem for us, and not all the final consumers can distinguish in the taste from a craft beer and an industrial one, okay? So I hope the message is not like, not too fighting, but it's very important for us to distinguish these two products. This is what's going on right now in Italy with our association.
So Italy, the only country in Europe to have a parliament that sits down and decides on what craft beer really is. And one of the finer points is that you have to have your own brewery, which rules out all the gypsy breweries that in many other countries are a stake of the craft beer industry. So that's a very interesting part of that law. So I would at this point open up the stage to discussion. Does anyone have a question? I'll have to do a bit of running back and forth here.
I think the speaker brought up a good point about craft beer versus industrial beer. How will they define the difference to the consumer? In the U.S., there's a thing called True Independent Craft, a logo. Is there something like that coming for Europe?
Did you understand the question?
Oh, sorry. I was drinking.
Yeah, me too. So there's a logo there, True Independent Craft. It goes right on the beer. You do something like that in Italy or in Europe? Is there some way of doing that?
Our association, that's called Union Mirai, it's working on a new logo that is artigianale indipendente, so craft and independence. It's going to be released in a few months, okay? It's very important for us. Of course, the association will not be the one who will guarantee about this, because the law itself guarantees about this. If you write artigianale, the state institution, they have to check that the people who are using artigianale are respecting the rules. But the logo will be released quite soon, I think. And yes, it's important. It's very important. But our rules are much more narrow and strict than the American ones. Because, you know, in America, the volume threshold is like 2 million hectoliters or so, maybe 10. I don't know. I really don't remember. And so our rules are more strict. This is I mean, I'm not sure it's the right choice for us, because maybe we will close ourselves in a small world, you know, because we don't have money. That's the point. That's the point. But I think at the end, that's probably the wisest way to go on. We have some risks to keep us very small, but maybe we can do a better job. Because the point is, I'm sorry, I'll be very, very direct, very honest, but the point is, on the market, you can find some crafty beers for half the price or even less of what we can really do. So we absolutely have to defend ourselves from this. No way. Otherwise, we will die.
about the... What was the question? Okay.
Any more questions? Anyone else? No? Okay, back to Agostino.
Just one thing to add to my answer. When I say we risk to die, it means many different sceneries, because we can get both from big industries, and can be very, very nice for the owners, but we disappear as craft beer breweries. And then we can be, let's say, we can close just because we are not able to keep the pace of the market and the prices of the market. And then there's another option. We can be just confused and diluted by the crafty beers. And so people will never distinguish about one and the other. So when I say die, there are different scenarios, but it's always something that means that the craft beer disappear. Sometimes we are acting in the wrong direction, I think, because we are brewing more and more beers that are dedicated to the big market. And so we are brewing more politically correct beers, and I don't think this is wise. Again, we should have to keep our identity. If we are going to produce mass products with the technologies that are typical of the industry, pasteurizing, microfiltering, stabilizing, using foam enhancer, hop extract, and so on, we will just lose our identity, and we will lose the reason why the people should pay a little bit more for our beers. So, just a question, no?
Okay, I think those were some very good last words. If nobody else has a question, then I would like to thank my two speakers. Alfonso and Agostino, thank you for being here.